Lightspeed Spanish, podcast number 5, and this is for absolute beginners, and the topic is conjugating verbs. Now, hola Cintia, ¿qué tal?
Muy bien, Gordon, ¿y tú?
Fantásticamente.
Qué bien.
Bien, me alegro. Well, now this subject of conjugating verbs, look, puts a lot of people off. Some people don't even know what the word conjugating means. Okay? Basically, what are we saying? We're breaking down, we're going to show you how to break down verbs, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do that in English. For example, if English is your first language, we do that without even thinking about it. I'll give you an example. A verb, to eat, or eating, yeah? I eat, you eat, he eats, she eats, we eat and they eat, and that's it. Simple as that. We don't really need to think about it.
Eat.
And you all, yeah, you all. Okay. Now in Spanish, they have their version, exactly the same version. The difference is in Spanish, for each person on that list, there's quite a different word. Unlike in English where we have eat, eats, eat. Yeah. In Spanish, no, they have a different word for each person. Now that's what makes it sometimes a little bit frightening. However, over the years, what we've done, Cynthia and I, is we've developed a system which is a very speedy system for learning the ends. Okay, because I've talked to people who've been studying for years and have never really quite managed to get the ends right, or to actually get them in the mind. There's a very simple system which we're going to go through. Before we do that, what we need to do is just talk about the 3 kinds of verbs. Now, verbs are doing words. Okay, so the 3 kinds of doing words that are in Spanish. So, Cynthia, what are they?
We have 3 types of verbs. First conjugation are the ones that finish with ar.
Okay.
Ar, like hablar or cantar.
Mm-hmm.
Second conjugation are the verbs that finish with er. Er,
Mm-hmm.
which are, for example, comer, beber. And the third conjugation are the verbs that finish with ir, which are the verbs like vivir, abrir.
Okay, so we have ar, ir. Okay?
Correct.
Right, brilliant. Now, what happens is this. When you conjugate a verb in Spanish, you have the order that we go in. Now, whenever we talk about verbs and the conjugation, we're always going to use the same order each time. And the order works like this. I, you, one person, he or she, we, you all, and they. Okay? Now, these particular words for I, you, these are words that you've just got to learn. The reason is because if you don't learn them, well, you'll be in trouble. Simple as that. Okay, you really do need to learn them. So can we just run through those, Cynthia? How do you say I?
Yo.
Joe. So that sounds like Joe, yeah? It's like somebody's name in English, Joe. Okay, you?
Tú.
Tú. Okay, rhymes, doesn't it? You, tú. Okay, he?
Él.
And she?
Ella.
Él and ella.
They belong to the same person. He and she.
He and she, yeah.
And it
Mm-hmm.
is the same person.
And then we have we,
Nosotros.
nosotros. Uh-huh. And then you all,
Vosotros.
vosotros. And that begins with a V, yeah? Vosotros. And then they,
Ellos.
ellos. And that's if it's a group of either men or male things, or male and female mixed. And if it's all female?
Ellas.
Okay. So, obviously this list here, everything that we're talking about, you'll find in the help sheets anyway. But they're things that we would recommend that you learn. You actually get in your head, you know, yo, tú, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, ellos. Okay, that order, if you get that order in your mind, it's going to help you a lot in the future as well when we come to other tenses. Now, how it goes is this, okay? When you're going to break down a verb, and let's use hablar as an example, yeah?
Okay.
Hablar. Now, when you're breaking down a verb, what you've got to do is you've got to take off the end, okay, the end of the verb, the AR. And what you do is you take off the AR from hablar, and that leaves you with habl, okay? Habl. And that's the verb stem. And then what you're going to do is this. From that habl, you're going to start adding bits on, okay? You're going to add bits on. So how does it work? Well, we start with I, okay? Now, I's an easy one. And if you're watching on video, you'll be able to see, but if not, what I'd like you to do is just put your finger up in the air, any finger, and then point at yourself on the chest and draw a circle, a big O on your chest. Okay, now that's to tell you that when you were talking about yourself in Spanish, with a verb, you're going to put an O on the end. So habl, so hablar is to speak. To say I speak, you say hablo. You put an O on the end. Okay? So when you're talking about yourself, finger to your chest, draw an O. You'll always put an O on. There are some exceptions, but 99% of the verbs are like that. Okay, next one. You. Now, this is how you remember it. You, one of my friends. You are one of my friends. And because you're one of my friends, you're going to put an S on the end. Okay, now this is an AR verb. So what you get is you've got your habl, okay, and you're going to put A and then S on the end. So that's you, one of my friends, so I'm going to put an S on. So that becomes hablas, hablas. So when you hear somebody say hablas, you know, and they're looking at you, they're talking to you, yeah? Okay, they're saying you, one of my friends, hablas, yeah? Okay, does that make sense up to now?
Absolutely.
Right, then we go to he or she, él, ella, okay? Now what happens is this, for the sake of this exercise, these he and she are no longer your friends. They're not your friends anymore. Ah, what a shame. So what you have to do is you take the S off, because they're not your friends. So all that you're left with is what?
The A.
Yeah, so you're left with habla. Okay, so for he and she, they're not your friends. You take the S off and you're left with habla. Okay, so let's just run down that list. When you're saying, we're using the verb to speak, hablar. When you say I speak, you've got your finger pointing at your chest. You're going to put an O on the end, so that's hablo. Yeah? And then when you're talking to you, one of my friends, just one person, you, one of my friends, because it's got a S on the end, you're going to put an S on the end. So that becomes hablas. Hablas, yeah? And then he and she, well, they're not your friends anymore. You take the S off and you're left with habla.
Isn't it funny that in English you add an S to he and she?
That's
in
right.
a verb. And in Spanish we take the
it
S
off.
away.
Yeah. Okay, so that's this side. Hablo, hablas, habla. Now we're on this side. And we've got we speak, okay? Now, the way to remember we is this. We are all covered in moss. What are we covered in?
Moss.
Moss. Okay, why are we covered in moss? Because that's what you put on the end of your conjugated verb. So what you've got is you've got habla, and all you're going to put on is moss. Hablamos. So when you hear somebody use the word, any verb that's got moss on the end, you know that they're talking about, they're using the expression we. Yeah? So hablamos, we speak. Okay? Does that make sense? So, what are we covered in?
Moss.
We're all covered in moss. Okay, now that makes the next one easy to remember, because the next one is you all. That's the vosotros form, that's you all. Now you all, remember this, you all are covered in is. Okay, we are covered in moss, but you all are covered in is. Now you can do what you like with that word. You can add letters to it to make it even more memorable. Okay, so you all are covered in is. So what happens is you take habla And then all you do is you add is on the end, and that makes it for you all. So that's habláis. Yeah? Okay? And then the last one is they. They. Ellos. Now they are at the end of the conjugation, and because they are at the end, you put an N on the end. Okay? So that's habla with an N on, so hablan. That's they speak. Okay, so quick review. We speak. We are all covered in mos. Okay, we've got mos on our shoulders, so we say hablamos. You all are covered in is. Okay, so we say habláis, you all speak. And then they are at the end. And so we put an N on because they're at the end. We say hablan. Okay, so have you got that? Now, listen, this is not a one-time learning thing. This system, if you run through it 2 or 3 or 4 times, become familiar with a few different verbs, it will hold you in massive stead for the rest of your Spanish. Every tense, bar one, uses all of these endings, okay, repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly. So, it's worthwhile spending some time on it. So Cynthia, would you just run through the pronunciation of each of those?
With the verb hablar?
Yeah.
Yo hablo. Tú hablas. Él, ella, habla. Nosotros hablamos. Vosotros habláis. Ellos hablan.
Bien, muy bien, muy bien. You speak Spanish so well, Cynthia.
Oh, thank you.
Well done.
Gracias.
De nada. Okay, so we've only covered AR verbs, okay? Obviously, we have ER verbs. Now, as it happens, ER verbs work in exactly the same way. All of this you'll find in the help sheet. And the IR verbs are nearly the same with a couple of exceptions, that's all. Just a couple of exceptions, but nothing majorly difficult. Okay, so for example, if I was going to quickly conjugate the verb comer, well, Cynthia perhaps can do it.
Okay.
Comer, which is to eat, yeah? So, first of all, how would you say in your own mind, just as you're thinking, we'll do a quick test, how do you say I eat? Would be?
Yo como.
Yeah. You eat. Now this is an ER verb, remember, it's not an AR, so you're going to have an E instead. So you eat.
Tú comes.
He or she eats.
Él, ella, come.
We eat.
Nosotros comemos.
You all eat.
Vosotros coméis.
And they eat.
Ellos comen.
Muy bien. Muy bien. Okay, so that's it. Get the system into your mind and you will move your Spanish forward at light speed.
Should we do an ir verb and then we
Yeah.
in the help sheet?
Okay, so
Let's do
ir.
an ir verb.
Let's
IR.
use vivir, to live. Okay, V-I-V-I-R.
Everything is on the help sheet, but just to clarify that this verb is a bit of a mixture. Well, not this verb, this conjugation, ir. Bit of a mixture between and ir. It copies it a bit. That's why you're going to hear sometimes I and sometimes e.
And that's because the IR verb, I always use it, is an undercover verb. It pretends to be an ER, except in the we and the you all. So it pretends, it masquerades itself as an ER verb, except in the we and the you all. So you'll see.
Come on, Gordon, we have 30 seconds.
Okay, go for it.
Yo vivo. Tú vives. Él vive. Nosotros vivimos. Vosotros vivís. Ellos viven.
Muy bien. Perfecto. Okay, muchas gracias y nos vemos. We'll see each other in podcast number 6. Yeah. Adiós.
Hasta luego.